All right, so we covered the first 4 offer: win your money back, free giveaways, decoy offer, buy X, buy free. They just keep getting better. And right now, your mind's probably moving like, shoot, I could use all of these. Yes, yes, you could. That's the point. That's why these things are so valuable. So now we move on to pay less now or pay more later. Also super sexy. So let's dive in. Same big five: how I learned it, description, examples, important points. This is my big fancy drawing. Big and fancy. Enjoy. All right. So how I learned it. So I got this email for double your reading speed in 3 hours or it's free by the world's fastest reader. And so I was like, sure, okay. So I clicked to register. And so they said, put your credit card down for $0 and get billed $300 after the training ends. And if your reading speed doesn't double, email us and we won't bill you. You have to attend to be eligible. And I was like, that's pretty fair. Like, I mean, if I could double my reading, I would pay $300 for that. And I get to decide if I doubled my reading after I decide to pay after I've doubled it already. I was like, that's kind of cool. So I clicked okay. And then the next page said, or pay $97 right now and get the recordings from it for free. And I was like, oh, I kind of want the recordings. But I will say I was younger and I was broker and I was like, I want to make sure it works. And so I decided to not take this offer. Now, on the 3 hour training or whatever, the first hour and a half or 2 hours, he had an objective point in the middle where he was like, okay, now he tested us in the very beginning. And then at the halfway point, he tested us again. Everybody who raised their hand said, yep, my, reading speed bubbles. We're like, oh, I tripled it, quadrupled, whatever it was. Some people didn't. And then he like called those people out, tried to help them like live, whatever. And then after that, just at the very end, he was like, by the way, if you thought this was good, this is what the progress we made in, 2 hours. If you want, I have an 8-week intensive on the back end that will even further increase your reading speed and your comprehension. And so you can read at a faster rate and contain more. And ultimately, like learning is the meta skill of everything. Like if you learn this one skill, blah, 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 blah. Right. And so I ended up not doing that. But I was like, wow, this is really interesting. He gets all these people on. He makes money from the 97s. He makes money from the 397s. And he then pitches people another thing. I was like, this is pretty cool. So that's how I learned it. And I was like, I wonder if I could do something like this for my business. And you can too. So let's dive in. So in pay less now or pay more later, you give people a choice to pay full price later with an implied guarantee of satisfaction or pay a discounted price now. This play removes all risk from the customer, which is why it's so compelling. The other amazing thing is that you can advertise that it's free because they put $0 down and they only pay after they get it, if they want. So they pay later and only if they like it. And it combines the benefits of a delayed payment and a satisfaction guarantee. So it does both. It's like it's a delay and satisfaction. That's why it makes it so compelling for people. And anyone can sell this. Almost anyone will agree to pay later if they're satisfied. So from a salesmanship perspective for your business, if you're like not that good at sales, this offer, primo. But once they agree to pay later, you can then get them to pay now with hefty discounts and valuable bonuses. Like in this example, the recordings was a very valuable bonus. You can also stack other bonuses as well as discounts. So it's like, oh my God, which also, by the way, shows you the value of delayed payment and guarantees. How much you have to discount and how many bonuses you have to stack shows you the relative value of a guarantee and a delayed payment. So the pay later option allows you to advertise free since you can choose to pay or not, and this gets lots of leads to engage. But this free offer has an added benefit, which is we get their card on file. So this works just as much online as it does in person. So whether you have either type of business, it works the same way. Because if they choose this option and they hate the product, then they can cancel at any time before the charge goes through. But if they accept the pay later option, then we can make follow-up offer to pay now, and the option can provide the whatever 20, 50% discount, sometimes 2/3 discount like the 97 example I gave, and greater bonuses. And since we already have the card on file, we make it easy for them to pay because now we already have it, right? And so whether they choose to pay now or pay later, you've got customers and likely some profit. But to take full advantage of this offer, you want something else to sell. So have something more, better, or newer to offer them when the time is right. All right. You want to market the core value as free, double your reading speed. The prospect puts the card down to consume the service or value. At the end, they're billed for the service at full price. Now, again, if you offset your cost to acquire the customers with the $97, whatever the immediate thing is, then you want as many people to pay the 3 times as expensive thing. So it's not that you want to force everyone to do that. And I'll talk about the balance between the price points later, but the objective is not to get everyone to pay now or everyone to pay later. It's to balance it just enough to offset your cost to acquire customers and then get as many people to then basically delay payments so you can make 3 times the amount. All right. And so you can charge more for the thing since a delayed purchase to the same degree. People will agree to pay more later than they will now. And so you can also boost the price, because also if someone, it basically means what's the price of the guaranteed delivery. So when you have someone pay today, there's a risk metric that they apply to the purchase on the risk that they don't get what they think they're going to get. If I said, hey, you only pay me after you get a six pack, then people were like, oh, then the value of a six pack is directly related to the price that they pay, which means I could charge way more for that thing because it's at a delay. And so we want to give the one-time offer of the same thing for 1/3 to 1/2 the price, plus bonuses and guarantee to get more people to buy now. Great. All right, so let's do some examples, because some people are like, okay, I get how it worked for the reading tutorial, but how does it work for other businesses? So pay later, 0 plus $299 after 3-hour training. Pay now, $149.97, doesn't matter. Recording plus notes. Okay, now if some of you are like, wait, I thought it said 20 to 50. I thought it said 67. Doesn't really matter. You just pick the discount amount that accomplishes your objective for offsetting as much cash as you need to break even on the acquisition. Now, upsell. And also, to be clear, if you are doing this thing is happening all within 30 days, I also include the cash I get from the pay later option, because they're still paying in that 30-day window. So if I get some today and then some in 2 weeks or some in 3 weeks or some in 4 weeks, I still get it before I pay my card back. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Now, upsell. The upsell here is the 8-week double your reading speed thing. Cool. So we have 3 offers: pay later, pay now, upsell. That's how this works. Now, let's say I'm in the, find your first real estate deal. Okay, fine. I do a 3-day workshop. Pay later for $0 for a 3-day workshop. They get billed $500 at the end unless they cancel. Pay now is $299 for the 3-day workshop, plus the recordings, plus a one-on-one call with a distressed property expert, plus printed materials that they can use at the workshop. Kind of compelling. Now, the upsell is that when they go to the 3-day workshop, guess what do? You sell $30,000 to take them through every other step of closing their first deal within 6 months, plus legal templates, an advisor to vet the investment, inspection checklist, whatever. I don't think I mentioned this yet, but one of the really sexy parts about this is that because every single person who registers puts a card down, the show rates are astonishing. They're very, very good. Because every single, you think about how do I make sure people come to the workshop? It's like, dude, everybody put a card down. Physical products do this, right? 14-day clothing trial. So they have a pay later option, $0 now, get it, then get billed $149 to 14 days. Amazon started doing this. It's try before you buy. This works in any business. All right, so the pay now option is you pay $97 for the closing, plus you get an accessory to go with it. But you could have this offer because then you could advertise that people would try for free. But you'd still want to monetize it sooner. The upsell could be that the dress comes with an offer for monthly subscription to more dresses or more clothes or clothes in this style. And the customers have to return the product in like new condition before billing to qualify for the guarantee. Now, let's do a local business. I'm giving more examples of this because people tend to be less creative. All right, so let's say you've got trim your hedges. All right, like very normal, local business. So the pay later option would be $0 lawn cut plus hedges. And then after we do it and it's to your liking, it's $600. Or $369 now, lawn cut, hedges, and lawn treatment. Now, some people are like, why is that so expensive? I have big houses. Whatever. Fight me. I'm kidding. You can change the prices to whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. All right, you can make this $59, this $36. It's fine. All right, relax. You're going to be okay. All right, now, upsell. So the upsell from there is the $199 a month for lawn care services. And so then the rep comes to the house, makes the estimate, and then offers both options, then upsells once the work is done. And so when they go there to say, hey, we can trim the edges and you can pay me right now, or you can pay me after the thing's done, you can pay more. Right? And then as soon as we get the card, then you can make the upsells. Boom. Important points. Okay. So here's the key part. Promise a clear yes, no result. So first, you make a promise yes, no. Second, make sure you can deliver on it within your time frame. If you don't, they will ask to not be billed. And so you want to make this as objective as possible for people so they can say, yes, I found my first deal. Yes, I got my first reply from an email. Yes, my reading speed doubled because I got to hear. And you want to have some sort of measurement before and some sort of measurement during so you can see the progress. So, for example, if you promised a decrease in summer shoulder pain, have them rate their pain before you do your magic trick and then ask them to rate it after. If it went down, you succeeded and you can sell them something else. Keep the promise simple, clear, and measurable. This avoids unnecessary cancellations. Now, make a conditional satisfaction guarantee. So people can only cancel the billing if they qualify. For example, they had to show up to the reading training to qualify. All right, it's a key point. And so if you don't show up to the workshop, then you can't ask for the refund. So think attendance, showing up for an appointment, turning in data, make the criteria what people do to get the value out of the product. right? Which should make you feel good too, because then you could explain it. It's like, listen, I have this as the criteria because you said you want to double your reading speed. You're not going to double your reading speed if you unless you show up. You're not going to find your distressed property unless you come to the workshop. Have bonuses for your pay now offers to get even more buyers. All right. So if you want more people to take that pay now option, just stack the bonuses, decrease the price. Optimizing your pay now and pay later offers. If too many people take your pay later option, discount the pay now option more, add better bonuses or both. And if too many people take your pay now option, go the other direction. If more than 10% of pay later people cancel their payment, you promise too much, the guarantee conditions are too low, or the price is too high. And so the last one's the one that can be kind of tricky is if you have a massive discrepancy between pay now and pay later, then sometimes people will get the value and just be cheapskates. That's why having the objective measure of whether they got the thing is so important for this. Now, again, I would explain that 10% is what you should target or what you should expect. So 10% of people who have pay later are going to just say, don't bill me. So just factor it into the cost of doing business. So if you have 100 people that do pay later, expect 10 to say that. Now, if like 20 say that, more than, then it's like, okay, we need to change one of these other things. I would say the fourth thing is that you're selling people who can't afford it. No, no matter how well you deliver, some people will cancel the payment, and that's okay. Just cost of doing business. Now, this works for recurring revenue businesses too, because you're like, how does this work for those businesses? Let me explain. So you just give them the option to pay a higher ongoing rate 30 days later, or they pay less today and they keep the better rate for good. All right, really sexy. So plus you can add in some bonuses. So I'm going to give you one line now, and we'll talk more about it in the one-time bonuses chapter with continuity. But it works like this: someone does a free trial of whatever your subscription is into $400 a month, and then on the thank you page you say, or you can pay $300 today, skip your trial, and you get to lock in at $300 a month for life. Pretty sexy. But now, in order to do that, you would add bonuses, and that also gives you a lifetime discount. There's two benefits from that, which is why it makes such a compelling offer. But you can advertise the thing as a free trial, but then you can liquidate the acquisition because you have the immediate thank you page offer. So if you run events, workshops, presentations, hint at your next offer early. So if the reading guru had said, everyone wants to know when my next reading intensive starts because they sell out so fast, I'll get to it at the end, but please pay attention. I want to deliver on the promise I made to you guys to double your reading speed first. By hinting about his new offer, he would have sold more of it. And he didn't. But if he had, I might have had a higher likelihood of buying. And so I used to do a lot of nutrition consultations, and this is what I learned myself doing this, is that I would start my consultation by being like, listen, everybody wants to know what supplements to buy. We're going to get to what supplements to buy. But right now, we got to get your weigh-ins. We got to get you to understand food. That's the most important part. Everything I just said was true. But by saying everyone wants to buy, everyone wants to know what to buy, I seed the idea that they're all going to buy something. But I seed it in a way that's not, it's me talking about everybody else, not the people in the room. And so I would say, hey, people are going to interrupt me all, to ask about supplements. And it annoyed me. And I did it one time by accident. And then, of course, it worked really well. And then I started doing it every other time on purpose. All right. And so by accident, I implied that people who, that everybody bought supplements without actually offering them. And all the head nods actually showed that they actually did want more products. And so all these factors got more people to buy when I finally asked them to. So it was a happy mistake that I was sure to repeat. Now, if you're selling over the phone, get the card first. Then ask, oh yeah, I forgot to ask you, do you want to save $200 on that price? So I'm giving you different selling environments. So if you're selling in person, I explained that the lawn care thing. If you sell digitally, it's a thank you page thing. If you're selling over the phone, you get the card first for the trial. You get the card first for the pay later option. Then you ask, like the thank you pages, once they've agreed to that purchase, then you say, by the way, I forgot to mention, do you want to save a little bit of money? Or say whatever the price is and get these extra things. A lot of people say yes. And then you should explain, yep. So for people who decide to just sign up without waiting to experience it first, so if you want to skip the trial, you get VIP seating and recordings from the event, and you get it for $200 less than if you wait. And you won't be able to get those two other bonuses at any time. You want to go ahead and do that? And so the more compelling those bonuses are, the more people will say yes. Great. Now, let's summarize this B. All right. So pay less now or pay more later offers people a choice to pay full price or pay a discounted price with additional bonuses if they pay now. The pay later option has a delayed payment with a conditional guarantee. Have a clear criteria to qualify for the guarantee and easy ways to measure it. If you can, align the criteria with what gets people the most value from the product. The pay now option offers a 20 to 50%, sometimes 2/3 discount, and bonuses if they pay now. It depends how desperate you are to get people to pay. Offer customers the pay now option after they already accept the pay later terms. All right. So if they choose to pay now, then they get the discount and bonuses instead of the guarantee, in lieu of. All right. Now, you make your promise easy to track and difficult to refute. So not only is it easy to track, but they can't say they didn't have it. The easier it is to track and the harder it is to refute, the better it is for this type of offer. So you want it to be as clear as a yes, no. And if you have more than 10% canceling the pay later option, you promise too much, the guarantee conditions are too low, or the price is too high, and or the people that you're selling to are not the right people. All right. So also give extra attention to the customers who claim they haven't gotten value. If you remember during the thing, if people didn't say they raised their hand and they didn't double the reading speed, he attended to them so he could check off the He basically purposely brought down the cancellations that he was going to get later. And so it's really easy to tip people over the edge. It probably takes, especially if it's an in-person thing, you can just easily check those boxes off and it'll save you a ton of money in cancellations. And that is the pay less now or pay more later.